Were the Arteta Outers right, Jess?
I mean, you should question a manager after 5 seasons, so, and I've never said that you shouldn't. So I don't know why anybody would not question a manager after not winning something for 5 seasons. So I don't know how he's gotten such a cult following where you can't question his job. Like, it's the strangest thing I've ever seen. He's not a legend of the club. He's not a world-class manager that we brought from somewhere else. He's literally a novice. So I don't know why you would think that a novice would be perfect at his job to start. I don't understand the whole like, no, but we can't talk about him. Last season, I felt like in the summer, there should have been more conversations about his job and, not winning anything and coming up short. And then this season started, and you didn't need a crystal ball to see what was going to happen this season. It's not difficult to see that we didn't have enough. We're halfway through the season, a little bit more than halfway through the season, and we've crashed and burned. Like, listen, the Arteta out, Arteta in. I'm not a big fan of like the whole like, let's get on our sides, but I just think common sense needs to prevail at some point. And he should not have such a staunch, like hard nose, like kind of defense when if it was any other manager, like Arsene Wenger, for an example, who got basically like kicked out of the door, Emery, who just was shoved out of the door as well, how this manager has managed to get by with such little achieved and so many resources and so much time and little to no pressure. I just don't understand why there's no pressure on him and why it's like, yeah, but it's the players. These are his players. Yeah, but it's the board. Yeah, but whenever we do good things, they say that he's really involved in everything that happens off of the pitch as well. So, yeah, I think hopefully it doesn't sound like I'm trying to like dodge it. I don't like the Arteta out, Arteta in thing. It just feels very like preschool. But I do think that like we should be questioning his position. And if you weren't questioning it before, what were you doing? Like,
okay, but the conversation yesterday we had on Husam's channel, which was a great show. Finally, we had a good conversation. Hasn't Arteta built a good team? Are we now questioning how good the team was? Like, isn't his job to build a team that is able to challenge? Yes, he didn't get over the line. Yes, he didn't win the trophy. But hasn't he done a good job at Arsenal? Are we looking at this team, Arsenal? Now, okay, yesterday, someone on the panel actually named only 3 Arsenal good players that will win that can win titles. That's not true, though. Like, he actually built a good team. It's not true that he's done a bad job. I never said that. You said that.
Let me go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I just feel like a lot of this is recency bias. And, you've seen these players perform at a much higher level. And unless it's like a purple patch, I don't think an entire season, 2 seasons are purple patches. I think that's who the players are. These players have definitely hit a wall. And I'm not surprised that they hit a wall. They're playing many minutes. A lot of them never get rest. They're not motivated because they're not winning anything. You didn't bring any attackers in. You're putting a lot of pressure on them to play a system that really doesn't work. We don't create a lot of chances. That's a coaching problem. That's not a player problem. It's a coaching problem. A lot of this just steers back to him. And it's not, is it a good team or a bad team? Is it a good team that can become a great team to win something? And that's the problem, is when we're not doing well, everything is bad. Every player is not good enough. Every player is shit. Everything that we've ever done is the wrong decision. And that's why it's so hard to have conversations, because of course there's nuance. This is a good team. Is it a great team? No. Why is it not a great team? For me, the manager, he has a hard time coaching an attack. 4 out of the 5 seasons he's been here, he hasn't been able to figure out how to get us creating lots of chances and scoring lots of goals under pressure. And then the second thing is just like, you're missing key components. Again, no striker. You probably need another attacking midfielder. You need another winger. So I don't know. Is it a good team or a bad team? Has he built a good team? Yes, he's built a good team. But there are a lot of good teams. Nottingham Forest is a good team. Man City is a good team. Chelsea's a good team. That's not the problem. Is this a team that can win something? A great team?
What do you think?
No, I don't. I don't think it's good enough. Like, I don't. After the summer window, I was like, Hussam and us we talked.
How
about
many
this.
players are you away from winning, from actually believing that? Okay, forget if Arteta's or not.
Two,
Okay,
two or three.
three. It's a very good job then.
2 or 3. But I'm not saying it's not a very good job. But that's not the job. The job is not to get us to a place of challenging. It's to win trophies. That's the job. The job is not to just get us challenging. That's not the job.
If Arteta was at Inter, you'd be Inter like Arteta out. So stop
100%.
gaslighting.
No,
You're the biggest
100%. But
gaslighter
I'm
known to
speaking
mankind.
facts.
But let me speak. Let me speak. It's time for the actual, like, some knowledgeable person to speak more. So let me speak. So when it comes to the Arteta thing, let me just say this. Jess has been probably spot on for like 90%, 95% of her takes on Arsenal this season, and we have to give her credit. And in life, this is like a life lesson. This is not just a football thing. In life, whether it's relationships, whether it's work, whatever it is, if you need perfect conditions for anything to work out, then it's not the thing for you. It's as simple as that. Nothing is perfect. You will never have perfect conditions. Do Arsenal need 25 man fit and available every single game to win a league title? That's just not happen. That's utopia. You know, that's not real life. You know, they need Havertz to score. You get 30 GA. They need this winger to get this many goals. They need 100 different things to happen in order for them to win a league title. But perfect conditions don't exist. People say Liverpool aren't deserved winners. We've had Alisson out, we've had Tsimikas out, Trent out, Konate out, we had Jota injured, we've had Gakpo injured, we've had multiple midfielders injured at multiple points in time. People will have injuries. Imagine when we get to Spurs on this debate, you just bring up injuries as an example. How many injuries have they had? Archie Gray is playing at centre back. You know, Danso, who's a midfielder, is playing at centre back. They have about 1,000 injuries this season. You're never, ever, ever going to get perfect conditions at any football club under any point in time. And you want to know the problem with this whole debate? Arsenal had perfect conditions 2 years in a row, and they won fuck all. So where do we go from here? Not even a Carabao Cup, not even a Europa League, not even an FA Cup. They've won absolutely zilch, nothing. But you've had the perfect conditions. You've had your team fit for all of the season. Havertz had 22 GA. Martinelli had a 15-goal season. Saka was fit and available. Everyone was there. Rice was in people's team of the season. Some people voting him as player of the year. Everything was there for you to succeed, and you still didn't. So you can't blame like, oh my God, it's just the conditions. No, it's not just the conditions. It's you being not good enough. That's just the reality of the situation. And I was like pro Arsenal, pro Arteta. I've said nothing but positive things about Arsenal. But this season I have changed my mind. And I've changed my mind when everyone was fit at Arsenal, even without the injuries. Like the way that they play, the way it's just so unsustainable. I think the best version of Arteta we saw was the version 2 seasons ago, where they're playing sexy football. Let's go, let's play, attack. Martinelli 15 goals, Saka 16 goals. Let's go, cooking, you know? And just one game, 4-1 loss to Manchester City at the Emirates gave Arteta PTSD forever. Like, oh, we're going to defend now in every single game. Tab Habibi, defend against Man City, but attack in the other games. Why can't you attack against like 90% of the teams in the league?
But he did last season.
Attack against them at least. You know, that's what I'll say.
He did in the second half of the season.
Yes, okay.
He did, but it's still like as an Arsenal fan, when I think about the back end of last season and then the whole of 22-23, I still feel like there's a gap in just the energy and the way that we're playing. I feel like ever since then we've played with a little bit of fear, and still when it came down to it, and we needed to score against Aston Villa at home, we couldn't do it at the back end of last season. When we needed to score, away from home against Bayern, we couldn't do it. So I get that we scored a lot of goals at the back end of last season and we had a good moment, but we always have these good moments where we can beat teams and do that kind of stuff. It's always about under pressure. In 22-23, we had moments where we weren't good enough, but I think that was just like more of a talent gap and hadn't been there before. But there was never a moment where I felt like we were just never going to score. In that season, there was never a moment where I felt like we just have no ability to score against this side. We went away to, Liverpool and we scored 2 goals. Of course, we gave up the 2 goals after, but that was still great football. We could have scored more goals. These seasons now, it's like you can see games where we're not going to score. Last season, there were games, even at the back end of last season, where we were like, it doesn't look like Arsenal is going to score a goal. And without that threat, without that, like, inevitability, you're not going to win anything. You have to have that inevitability, and we don't have it. And if you can't coach that to the highest standard like you were 2 years ago, then you need to have the types of players that can create those moments and bail you out. So you play a stiffy game with a suspect group of attackers, right? But you don't have the type of attackers that you would need to play this rigid game. You need clinical finishers that can just feed off of 1 or 2 chances. You don't got that. Calafiori is your most creative player. That's not okay, so I don't know how he got I don't know. He needs to go to therapy. I've said this for a couple months now. He needs to rid himself of whatever happened in that first season and start again, maybe at a new club, because I'm tired. Like, I cannot watch this football. And it's not about playing good football. It's ineffective. And it's like Husam said, it's unsustainable. So yeah, it's tough.
The thing is, it makes sense, like if a new manager comes into a club, it makes sense for them to, get time to try and build, like you say, the perfect conditions and want these players in. And, if they're a few steps away from becoming a better team, fine. But Arteta's been at the club long enough now he's already past the point where he's built a collective team and you guys were playing good football, you were challenging. He's past that point. And I think because he's been there long enough, he should now be in a position where he can still find ways to upgrade you with what he has, rather than wanting more next year, because that's an issue, because you've already been at a point where you're playing good football, you're beating teams, you're collectively playing football where every player is pulling their weight and it's not just individuality and individual brilliance. And that alone is enough of it should be enough of a footprint for them to then go and find, like Pep has done, just find individual ways or other ways to adapt things when he is maybe missing something or you're not creating things on the pitch. And he can't possibly look to say, okay, well, I need another season and I want this player and then we can restart from again, because I think he's past that point. And I think that's the issue, that there's no longer a way that he can find to upgrade you with what is currently there, if that makes sense, because it's not like you've been void for talent. You've had younger players who have come through the ranks and have been, pretty good for you. There's been enough there to provide some refreshment in the team as well. And there was enough of a footprint coming into the season for them to just come and just join in with what's already going on. But I think, it's almost like a snowball effect where Arteta came into the season with already the pressure that he's got to maybe challenge, thinking again, Pep Guardiola, Manchester City, and that changed. I think where Manchester City started dropping points, so did Arsenal. And I think Arteta's got a bit of an issue there where he almost cracks when it comes to chasing that leader, when it comes to capitalizing on the bad results. And that's now been Liverpool this season, where Liverpool have dropped points and you guys have had a chance to go ahead, capitalize, maybe close that gap a little bit. Arteta's crumbled under that pressure. So I think it's become a bit more of a mentality issue with the manager as well himself, where he's overthought it so much to a point coming into the season where he questioned his own system. He changed things that he didn't really need to change. And that's where the players have then massively started to overthink it. And you can see that kind of frailty in the players on the pitch as well. But I just don't see how Arteta upgrades this team right now with what you have, because what you have should be enough now. You've had windows where you've brought in a certain player. Yeah, of course, you will argue that you needed to maybe bring in a striker, a goal-scoring winger, whatever, but you didn't. And again, there still shouldn't have been that excuse. There still should have been more done to just work with whatever he's had. But yeah,
I totally agree with that. Like, I think Nina hits the nail on the head on it's 2 parts. Like, he should be able to do more, kind of he should be able to get a little bit more out of what he has, despite not improving in the places that we obviously should have. And just taking it away from just set it aside just for a second. He is 5 years into his managerial career. He is second guessing everything that he's doing because he's fucking new and he's at Arsenal and there's all this fucking pressure and he's crumbling under it. Why do people feel like this guy is not having an identity crisis? It's so clear to me that this guy is
she's talking his personality. She's questioning Arteta's personality.
Questioning everything. I love it.
He's questioning everything.
Seriously, I'm looking at him. I'm just you came in, you said you wanted to do something specific. You got into the job and you probably got us to where we wanted to be maybe a little bit too soon. And the pressure has hurt you. My issue now is not so much about Arteta, because again, this is not Arteta FC. It's so much easier to move on the manager than it is to move on a group of players. And to me, I'm much more confident in the players that we have than I am in him.